One.
Good morning, Corning.
And welcome to episode number 3. We're live on location right here at KBKG. More music, 93.5. The headquarters here, your hometown dealer, or your hometown radio station here in Corning. On the south end of 2nd Street, I guess, intersection here at Bryan. We can see the railroad tracks from here. A big open field here. The kids can come out and play a little football maybe. Or maybe get a little.
When it's mowed.
Or maybe we can get a little alumni game going.
There we go.
Yeah. I'm out. I'll coach. Hey, we're excited. Andy Earl's here, your co-host. I got the always amazing Bart Watt and the always amazing Mark Hufford. They're going to carry this program for us today because I'm tired. I'm wore out. I'll probably be snoring here in just a minute.
Me and you both, buddy.
There you go. Hey, if you're watching, though, if you're tuning in with us, share that feed for us. Tag some people if you can. We're excited, very, very excited. Maybe too excited. We may be too loud, actually. I'm going to turn it down a little bit.
Yeah, we're kind of loud. I'm ready for tonight.
You ready?
Yes.
You're antsy. Your feet are just shaking
over
here.
Man. I'm ready. I missed last week.
Is that the feeling in your gut, or is that maybe constipation? Or what?
No.
Okay.
No problem. Okay. You don't have a squint going on yet.
Another reason we're excited is because we have a special guest here with us today. Legendary, yes. Mr. I won't call him Fred Martin. I'll call him Mr. Fred Martin. Fred, it's good to have you along here, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here.
Awesome. We appreciate you jumping on board with us. We really, really do. I'm going to let you kind of intro here. I'm going to let you kind of, for the people that don't know you, obviously a lot of people here in Corning are going to know you, but for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Well, I was on the radio for about 60 years.
Whew.
Here
Man,
at,
how old is he?
But not
63.
all that long. Not all that long here on the KG 93 because they only came on the air in 1983. But I went to work for Bob and Euless Cochran back in 1961. So, and I've been in Corning most of that time. I managed a station for them at Prescott, Arkansas, at which time I had the opportunity to follow the Curly Wolves at that time. But I came back to Corning in 1966, and I've been here ever since, followed with a radio station, live broadcast. We couldn't always have a live broadcast because we were a daytime station. And
nighttime games.
Nighttime games, daytime station, so we recorded and played it back the next day. I retired a few years ago from the Clay County Courier, and here I am to tell you you're doing a great job in building enthusiasm for the Bobcats.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yes, sir. We do.
Thank
and
you.
We enjoy it.
We really do. We really enjoy it, especially when you got knuckleheads like these two here beside me. They keep it fun for sure. And I feel like some days I'm babysitting, some days it's a 3-ring circus. I don't know what's going on. So, but
that's how we feel about you, Andy.
Yeah, no
Takes
respect.
2 of us to babysit you.
Mr. Martin, I got to know. So you told us a little bit about the past there, and I know you said you retired a few years ago from the Courier. What are you doing these days? What's retirement like for you?
It's busy. There's always something to do. Always somebody to take somewhere or get called on for this or that. So it's not a boring life.
Are you busier than you were before you retired?
No.
Okay.
No. I kind of pace myself. When you get into a new decade, you have to pace yourself.
Is this the earliest you've been up in a while?
Oh, no.
He's probably usually at McDonald's right now.
He looked cranky this morning when he came. No, I'm kidding.
No, he's usually at McDonald's right now.
We ride bicycles every morning to McDonald's.
Wow. That's impressive. We should have rode bikes here.
I got mine under the carport.
Guys, we got to meet up next week and ride bikes here in honor of Mr. Fred Martin.
Next week's a home game. We're not doing the.
Are you sure? No, it's a away game.
It's a away game.
It's a away game. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Fred, you gave us a great idea. So we're going to meet up about a block over. We're going to ride our bikes over.
Hey, on the route, when I do ride my bike, I come right by here twice. So it ain't no big deal.
Don't lie to the public. This
I'm
is
not
live
lying.
right now. You don't
Dude,
ride
I
a
used to
bike.
ride my bike to Dexter.
I bet Fred Martin.
You remember that ad that y'all put in the paper? Me and Shane Mansker rode to Dexter.
I
on our
remember
bikes?
that. Yes, I do.
Did somebody follow them though and actually get foot? I think they probably had bikes in the back of a truck.
Yeah.
Got about
The old thumb out.
No, but I'll tell you one thing. The last time I wish I had because we always rode a few miles every day before we led up to that. The last year we did, I never even rode my bike until I jumped on it.
So you jumped on it. Then you were really hurting. Did you stretch before that?
No. I made it. We rode from Dexter home that time. I made it to the McDougal store. My legs were cramped up so bad I couldn't even walk. So I had to call my wife and have her come get me. I was disappointed.
I mean, the bravery to even mention that story. It's pretty impressive. Enough about us, Fred. We got a
Sorry,
special
Fred.
guest here, so let's continue on there if we can.
Fred, you mentioned that you worked for Bob Cochran. Y'all did a lot for Corning Sports. Did y'all used to record the games on cassette and play them back on Saturdays and interview coaches and stuff like that?
Interview the coaches, or
Yeah.
no? Usually the coaches would come down here to the studio, but the football games we recorded on reel-to-reel to start with, back in 1961.
They didn't have cassettes back then,
No,
Andy.
did not. Did not. But the coaches would come down here and do their program recorded, nothing live.
Yeah.
At their convenience, they would come down here and Bob would interview them, both the junior high and senior high coaches.
So I'm curious. Did you get volunteered for that, or did you kind of take over that? Did you purposely?
We worked together on it. We had sponsors, just as you have sponsors on your broadcast. But we would enjoy talking to the coaches and try to get an insight on things. But then we started the Bobcat Review. You're probably familiar with that.
I've heard of that.
Well, you probably were interviewed.
Okay.
Yeah. We started that in the mid-'60s. And at the time, I would go out to the dressing room in the coach's office and talk to the one player each week, each day. So I was out there 3 days a week, and then the coaches would come down here for junior high and senior high. So it was interesting, very interesting to talk to all the players and try to get an insight on how they felt about Bobcat football.
Mr. Martin, I've got a question for you. It sounds like an interesting question because Andy made this up, so I got to know myself now.
Hey, you got it.
Who was the football prophet?
Yeah.
And tell folks what the football prophet would do.
The football prophet was James Leonard of Leonard's Food Center out there.
Yeah.
Started out Leonard's Grocery. He would come down here, and we would go into the studio, and he would have a script, and it was something that he would read, and he drew that name of the football prophet. A lot of people followed him, and he would read about all the colleges and make a prediction on them. And then, of course, he would end it up with the Corning Bobcats and tell them what he thought. And he was generally right.
So he was right most of the time?
No, most of the time. Oh, yes.
Would he ever pick against Corning?
You know, I don't remember. Surely not.
Surely he wouldn't go
would-
that far.
No.
Surely he wouldn't have gone that far.
No,
Back then they
I
were
wouldn't think
dominant
so.
too. Surely he would not
That's
have.
right.
That's interesting. Today he would be like, what do you call that? He would be trending. He would be like a Twitter superstar.
Yeah.
Whatever the kids. I don't know what the verbiage I'm
I don't
looking
even
for.
have Twitter. I don't even know what you're talking
There
about.
you go, bingo. He'd be one of those for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm curious. So you've been around this Corning High School program since '66. Is that what you said?
Well, actually, 61 when I started, but I moved away for 3 years.
Prescott, and
then came back up here in 66.
okay. So you've seen a lot of people come and go.
Oh, yes.
In the not just the football department, but the athletic department. I'm curious. Every week we try to mention something that very few people do, and that's the game day volunteers. And the people I'm meaning is like the chain gang, Ronnie Jones, Gary John, all those guys.
Yeah.
The PA guys like Mr. Rich Martin. The managers down there that are helping out, Calvin Burkhart, people like that. Who were some of those people back in the day? Can you throw out some names of chain gangs and PA guys and things of that nature back in the day?
Okay, when I first started with the Bobcats, we were at Sprague Field.
Mm-hmm.
Sprague Field is where the Huddle Plaza is now located. And Sprague Field had a very small press box. And Junior Pillow was the announcer. And after Junior Pillow, I think...
Did Junior go by J.A.?
No,
Okay.
Junior.
Okay. I had read that somewhere, and I didn't know.
Well,
Okay.
that possibly was his name, but people didn't know that.
Gotcha. He's always
Yeah.
Junior. Gotcha.
He's always Junior. And then I suppose after him, it might have been, actually, there haven't been a lot of them. Louis Walls came after Junior Pillow. And my son Rich is out there now doing it.
Yeah, Rich has been there, 25, 26, I don't know, maybe longer than that. A long time. I know when I was playing, he was definitely.
He has been there a long time.
He's got a voice for it too, man. He helps cut. He does. He helps cut some of our ads, and his sounds so much better than mine. Mine are kind of blah, and his are like, yeah. I don't know. He has a voice for it. Did you ever attempt to do anything like that?
Oh yes. I know Rich worked here at this station for a while. Then he went to work at Hope, KXAR in Hope.
Yeah.
And then he joined the Air Force after that.
Y'all both have great radio voices. No doubt about that.
Thank you.
Ask him. He may know about that other field we was talking about.
Well, actually, next week it will be a great time to talk about it. We've been trying to document. I ask all these questions because I like to document this stuff.
Sure.
One day I'd like to make a big book of Corning Bobcat football history if I could. I think that's years down the road. But we've been trying to document the different stadiums that or venues, whatever you want to call it, fields that they have played at over the time. And I had heard some stories that there was one. It was called Hobson Stadium. And I've heard one of Hobson Field. We heard that there was one out by the, I guess it would be east of town, out past the railroad tracks there on the field.
Right. I think that was Pringle Field.
Yeah, and Pringle was baseball, I believe,
that.
only, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong on that. But
I don't know.
Okay. So your knowledge before Sprague, and not Sprague Field, but Sprague Field, your knowledge before that, you don't have anything?
No, it's just what I've picked up from people who have said, yeah, they went to games at Pringle Field, and someone said there used to be one right here behind the radio station.
We heard that.
We used to play here a lot, but there wasn't a field there.
Well,
I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, somebody was mentioning that the last time we interviewed someone, and then I got a phone call after, and they said, yeah, there actually used to be a legit field here, but then they upgraded. It was either on this side or it might have been on this side before these houses were here, but that's interesting. I love that history, and football for Corning started in 1910, and we know Hobson Stadium was the stadium, and we just don't know the location. But we'll eventually, I think
Somebody will know.
Somebody will eventually figure it out. We'll stumble upon the right person, the right article or something. And that's the thing. These articles, the public library's been very nice to us. We go down there, and anytime I get any free time, they got the old microfilm or whatever, and we pull it up and look at these old archives, and sometimes we catch a hint here or there. So, but yeah, what is this?
Cough drops.
Cough drops. Okay, I got you.
Okay. I'm on the right sheet.
You don't even know where you're at.
No, I don't.
We want to know. Obviously, you've had a long history here of not just covering the Bobcats, but witness
that question
the
yet.
Bobcats already did.
Okay.
We want to know and hear your stories of the Corning Pickett rivalry. Obviously, that goes way, way back. We want to hear those stories.
Oh yes, goes back. That's very difficult to talk about some of them because Pickett was on top at that time.
Yeah.
But I think at one time Pickett had two players who eventually went to the University of Arkansas to play for the Razorbacks. And it wasn't a very pretty game as far as we were concerned. But I have to remember Thanksgiving Day, the first year that Bobcat Field at the high school was in operation. They'd already closed down Sprague Field and moved out there. I think that was 1968. And we had a Thanksgiving afternoon football game, so therefore we broadcast that. Since we were a daytime station here, we were able to broadcast it, and Bob Cochran did the play-by-play, and I think the score was something like 32-6. Corning won that game, although Pickett had been listed as one of the top players and teams in the state, probably listed in the top 5.
Wow.
But there was not much of a
Pickett
game.
down a few times when they were.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of kids from Pickett going to you. Was one of the last name Adams?
Yes.
He just got inducted into the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame just a few years ago. I was there with Coach Campbell, and I remember them talking about him. And Jerry Jones actually had was there. His son was there. Son or grandson. Anyways, was there, and he knew Adams really well. I'm like, man, that's kind of neat that Jerry Jones knows a guy from Northeast Arkansas. I know Jerry obviously went, and I think it was 63, 64, whatever years those were. And Well, that's kind of cool, though, little old Clay County, Arkansas, and we had somebody that knew. So,
well, we also had someone play for the University of Arkansas that graduated here, Mr. Black, a Black Lumber Company. I think it was 1929 after he graduated. He went to the University of Arkansas and was a Razorback.
Wow. That's awesome.
Played for the ball team there, yeah.
I'm writing that down. I did not know that. That's interesting. I'm going to go start digging up some archives of the University of Arkansas now. I never knew that. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you probably wouldn't know position and stuff you played at Corning, but that.
No, I don't.
Be interesting. I'm definitely going to dig that one up.
Mr. Martin, tell us about Kenny Huffman and any memories from that time frame.
Oh, Huffman was quite versatile. He was very good. I don't remember a whole lot about, but he was very versatile. He jumped right in there, had a very good attitude, and that means a whole lot.
Yeah,
to have
absolutely.
an attitude, but he was very good. I admired him and his older brother, younger brother, and one sister. Matter of fact, they lived right behind the radio station. So it was quite often that I would see him when he would come up here and, as a small child, come up and buy a soda pop out of the front. But when it came to football or baseball, well, he was top notch.
Was he better than Andy Earls?
Without a doubt. That's an easy call. I didn't even watch him play, and I can tell you that. That was an easy call.
Wasn't you an All-American, Andy?
No. Yeah, in my own mind, I was a all-world talent, but that was not the case. But so he was a multi-sport athlete.
Yes, he was. Oh, yeah. He was in Little League baseball. Of course, I was coaching out there at the time, and he was one of the better pitchers that we had. We went to the district tournament, and we depended on him. Very good kid.
That's awesome.
You was talking about coaching just then. Were the parents back then still annoying like they are today?
Well, they were involved. Let's just go that direction.
I like that verbiage. They were involved. That's pretty good stuff.
They weren't like they were today when I played high school sports. I can promise you that.
They weren't when I played either.
Well, they probably weren't when I played Little League either. He was talking about Huffman getting it across the plate. I couldn't control it, so they were probably yelling at me. Probably. I could hum it, but I couldn't control it. Those poor batters stepping in the box probably didn't know what to think. But someone very near and dear to my heart, I learned recently was pretty near and dear to you. Tell us a little bit about your relationship and your history with the legendary coach Don Campbell.
Oh, yes. Don was a very good friend. We admired him very much. Corning loved the way he coached. And he wasn't out there just coaching ball. He was teaching fundamentals of life. I think he was quite active with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Don had a great sense of humor, too. I remember I was once interviewing a Bobcat in the dressing room of the office where the coaches would sit. And we were going great guns with the interview, and we looked down, and someone had set a piece of paper on fire and slid it under the door. And just pulling jokes and tricks. He and Dutch No at that time. And I always made sure after that that door was closed and locked and something was up against it to keep them from doing it again.
Hey, good thing the field house is built out of bricks and concrete blocks.
That's right. They enjoyed joking.
Oh,
Sure
man.
did.
That's pretty funny.
That is funny.
I hope nobody gets any ideas in the press box.
Yeah, no doubt.
We start getting,
That's wood.
I know. It's already hot enough in there.
Yeah, no kidding.
So do you have any memories that really stick out besides that one, obviously, with Don Campbell, whether it was coaching or just something, friendship with you guys?
Oh, yeah. I remember once when we were playing, this is something that we want to forget because we were playing a district tournament game out here. No, it wasn't district tournament. It was the playoff. We had already won the district championship, and we hosted the first round of the state playoff. And I guess it was McCrory, but they had a quarterback that was very tall, very big, and he could throw that ball. But it was a 4th down with long yardage, and they were backed up to their own goal line, and it was raining cats and dogs. And he took the snap, trying to punt the ball, bobbled it, dropped it, picked it up, and started running, sloshing all the water as he ran right up beside the bench and the coaches. He ran, to the right, ran all the way for a touchdown.
Wow.
And I asked Don, why didn't you step out there and trip him or something? And he said, I really wanted to, but that wouldn't have been good to do. So, but it was quite a ball game and very wet at the time.
He was so competitive, too.
Yes, he was.
And not that he'd ever stooped that low, but boy, he sure wanted to win. And
yes.
I remember the simplicity. My dad and everybody always saying, hey, he's so simple. He's just a simple man. Then I got to interview him one day, and I'm like, man, they're not joking. Like, he is just simple. 3-4 plays. And
yes.
And that was just kind of, I always found that really, really unique. But
I went over and watched him play Pulaski Academy one year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He run the same play every single time.
Yeah.
4th down, run the play.
Well, a lot of our roots are from him and Dutch Snow,
Yes.
honestly. You can trace it back to them for many years. I know you were around. What was Dutch Snow like, too?
Just exactly.
Yeah.
He did not joke around as much as Don did.
Yeah.
But Dutch was very sincere, used the fundamentals of football, won a lot of ball games.
Fred, another name we want to bring up is Bill Rom. I'm sure that name does ring a bell.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Bill.
Bill, very versatile, very well. He would talk a lot, and he would tell you what he thought. I talked to him once. He was playing softball, left his job in Dallas, and went on a tour with a softball team. Went into Russia, actually played 2 ball games there, and the main thing he remembered about those games was the airplane that took him and took the team there. He didn't know if it would ever get off the ground, and he described how simple it was and how it shook, and that's just one thing that I remember about Bill. He was willing to tell you all about it. A very good ball player. He played well up into played softball well up into middle age and loved it.
He knew a lot about sports, too, didn't he?
Oh, he did.
Stats.
He would certainly remember those things. And
Yeah, they said you could ask him
tell.
the stats of just about any player, and he could spout them off to you just like that.
He would, yes.
He may have been a Russian spy. That might have been why he was over there.
Well, if he was here
Who
today,
knows?
he might could bring Brittany Griner home.
I tell you what, I respect anybody that can play anything athletically into their middle age. I'm 35, and I don't think I could go out there and do it right now. I really don't.
Let's go to
Bill.
Russia and play softball, Andy.
Okay, let's try it. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to need
Bill
a
played
wheelbarrow.
long time.
Yeah.
Played a long time, he sure did.
That's wild to up and just give up your full-time.
He must have loved softballs, all I can say.
Well,
Man.
I don't think he gave up his job. I think he used his vacation for that. Special
Oh, okay.
days
That'd
off.
be a heck of a vacation, man.
You ain't
Things,
kidding. Man.
What you doing, buddy? I'm over here at Russia playing softball.
Softball.
Yeah, he played there, and they traveled to Italy and played, and Germany. So
Wow. They had a
played
world
all-
tour
Yes.
from Mother
playing
Russia.
softball.
That's awesome.
Keeping up with the name game here, tell us about Russell Dean.
Oh, Russell Dean was something else. Russell, at first, Russell went to school here, and he played football as junior high. He might have been older than most of the boys, but he was very fast. And I don't remember the senior high. Of course, I wasn't around when he was in senior high, but I know in junior high he certainly made a name for himself. Russell Dean would not miss a practice. He would go out to practice, watch the game, talk to the coach, very personable. His mother and sister were sitting in the car in the shade out there at Bobcat Field. But Russell Dean was a true supporter of Corning Bobcats.
When I played 7th, 8th, 9th grade, he was at every, like you said, he was every single practice.
Yes.
And he'd have a big old cooler full of sodas for us after practice.
Russell Dean was something
Yep,
else.
he was a good man.
He went to every game here, and people would say, Russell, we have to go to Harrisburg. Come on, ride with us. And that's how he went to the out-of-town games with other people. But he didn't miss anything here. And he also, when Don Campbell was here, the Booster Club bought jackets, Bobcat jackets for people. Russell Dean was the first supporter to get one.
That's awesome.
And then his sister got one later. So they both...
For sitting in the car.
Yeah.
In the shade.
Well, she would come up in the stands during games.
Yeah.
She would sit in the car during practice sessions. But Russell Dean was a great friend.
I'm going to just keep up. We've been throwing these names at you. I'm going to keep it up. I'm just going to keep the train going here. Do you remember? I'm not even going to give you the real name. I'm going to give you the nickname. Do you remember Juddy?
Oh, yes. Juddy Lamas.
Yep.
I was actually away from here at the time that Juddy was injured. He was had a very good attitude and very, very good ball player. But being injured, being paralyzed, that sure made a difference in the life of all the Bobcats. In honoring him, he was something else.
I'd read many, many articles about weeks after, and maybe even longer than that. They worked really hard. And when I mean they, I meant the team, the city of Corning, to raise money. I know he was in the hospital for a very, very long time.
Yes,
I want to say Memphis maybe, or I can't remember the hospital, but in there for a very long time. They did a heck of a job just trying to raise money for him. And what's so neat about him, he's faced with all this adversity in life that he goes through with that. Could have easily just felt bad for himself and just kind of just survived through the easy as he can, and bound to this wheelchair, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he made a heck of a career for himself, a heck of a life. He's got several books out there. He's got one I'm reading right now that's really intriguing. And he mentions the incident that night. And I don't think he ever had any ill will towards football. He still loved football even after that. He's been very successful in some different avenues, too. I just think it's so cool.
I admire him very much because he went on to the University of Arkansas and got an education, even though he was paralyzed from the neck down.
That's awesome.
That's if anybody doesn't know the University of Arkansas, if you ever seen their campus, holy smokes, they call it the Hill for a reason. You're up, you're down. So I can't imagine him trying to get, to his classes, to whatever.
And they probably didn't have. I don't know if they had motorized wheelchairs back then.
Who knows? I don't know. They'd have to get the old.
If he didn't, he had some strong arms.
The old hitch out and just lasso him and go. But yeah, he's that's impressive, and we're hoping to interview some of his family members at some point down the road.
Be great.
Yeah, we want to give him some love. I honestly didn't know that story until about this time last year. I was reading an article, and I'm like, now who's Juddy?
Yeah.
And it had said that, and it said a horrible accident on the field. And if I'm not mistaken, someone told me Miss Annie Morrow was actually dating him at the time. And I know Miss Annie Morrow, of course, God love her, she's no longer with us. But I wanted to pick her brain, and, of course, I couldn't. And so I've been trying to dig up all these articles. So anytime I get a chance, I ask about Juddy, if I can. I want to throw something at you here, okay? You've done this for a long time, like I mentioned earlier. You've been covering Corning athletics. What is the most memorable or a couple of memorable games that you've ever witnessed, whether you're covering them or you're just there watching them?
That's quite a difficult question. I think the Thanksgiving Day playing Pickett would have been one of the memorable football games. Some of the people who have played and participated and still support the Bobcats, a lot of those. I remember talking to Paul Stovall. Paul was a coach here up until the latter 60s.
69.
And, I think 69 he went to Walnut Ridge. So that was quite a battle, Corning and Walnut Ridge. And David Luter was one of the defensive players for Corning. And I talked to Paul Stovall about David. What did you do? As big as he was, as strong as he was, how did you attack? He said we had 3 players blocking David Luter all the time, and we ran that way. I said, why do you run? He said, well, because that was our strength of blocking. I mean, if we tried to put one player to block him and we went the other way, he'd usually get past that player and tackle us in the backfield. So we attacked their strength.
That's
Bobcat's
interesting.
strength was David Luter on the line, and Stovall had 2 or 3 players blocking him to open the hole. So I remember that.
What was your relationship with Stovall? Were y'all pretty close?
Just strictly coming down and interviewing and seeing him out there working.
You were there during the heydays, during Stovall's era, during Dutch Snow, during Don Campbell. What were the differences between those guys? Were they very similar or were they very different?
I think they were similar. They stuck to the basics. They taught basics, and they harped on it. And they also taught sportsmanship. I can remember once, I don't know who Corning was playing, but one of the players of Corning was either blocking or tackling or doing something, and on the ground a fist fight started right there in front of Dutch, knowing, man, didn't he get out there and break it up in a hurry. So I think they wanted great fundamentals, good sportsmanship. That's what all 3 of them taught.
That's awesome.
It was.
You were talking about the Thanksgiving game. Back then that was kind of a big thing because Thanksgiving is when all the family got together.
Right.
How was the community at that game? Was it packed?
Yes, a full house.
Wow.
I remember, I think the punter, field goal kicker at that time would have been maybe Jerry Smith. But
This is 68 or 69?
68.
68, okay.
In 68. Also remember the enthusiasm of the Bobcats when Mike Walls was the field goal kicker.
Yeah.
Last play of the game to win over Walnut Ridge, Mike kicked a field goal. Corning won, and you've seen what the University of Arkansas did is everybody rushed to the field. That happened out here. Rushed the field. Corning had a victory.
That wasn't just a field goal. That was a 33-yarder. I read that article. That was so good. It was such a battle. It's funny, okay, you mentioned that. I asked some people this too before. Back then, was Corning Walnut Ridge a bigger rivalry than Corning Pickett?
No. It was a rivalry, but I don't think anything could equal Corning and Pickett going at each other. But Walnut Ridge began to have good ball teams, and there was quite a fight going there.
I always heard it was either, this is what Don Campbell always told me, he said, man, every year you knew who the contenders were. He said it was either going to be us, Walnut Ridge, or Highland. It was one of us 3.
Yeah.
He said every year for a good decade and a half, maybe longer, even before his tenure, but it seemed like those were the 3 that were top-heavy every single year.
Absolutely. And you throw Pickett in there simply because we're so close. And now we have the Rice Bowl, so that's a good way of topping things off.
I agree.
We had 2 wins over Pickett last night.
Hey, how about that?
I was there.
Seventh
Both teams
grade.
looked very good.
Well, good. I
Very
like
good.
that. I like to hear that. Anytime we beat Pickett, I don't care if it's jelly bean jar guessing, if it's hopscotch, if it's hula hoop. I don't care. As long as we're beating Pickett, I'm happy. I know Fred's probably the same way. Mr. Martin, if they asked you to come out today and help out with the football team, could you coach?
Oh, no.
No?
No.
Did you ever want to be a coach? Did that ever cross your mind?
No. I strictly stuck with baseball coaching because I was doing that for many years. I couldn't do football. I think there are too many fundamentals. There are too many plays. I'm always amazed at watching them run off tackle. Next time, come back and run the other way.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff to remember, that's for sure.
That's right.
So you coach baseball?
Oh, yes.
What grades and how long did you do that?
Mostly Little League.
Okay.
I stayed in the Little League and went up a couple of years for the Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Babe Ruth stopped one year, or some, and when Rich, my son, got out of Little League, I got the organization together and had several years of Babe Ruth baseball.
That's awesome.
We franchised through Babe Ruth just as Little League always did.
I want to thank you for that because we don't thank those coaches enough, and not just the Little League, but Pee Wee football too, who we're about to have on in a minute. But it's folks like you that allowed all those generations to find their love of sports, to learn a lot while they're doing it, and just be better people. And I want to thank you for that for those years. Do you remember Lillard Field?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Matter of fact, just after Lillard Field was constructed, was built, Corning hosted state Little League baseball tournament. Wow. Now, that's something else. And people came from Malvern, Arkadelphia, Pine Bluff. Why do we have to come this far to get to the edge of Missouri to play Little League baseball? Why? But they get out there and they say, wow, you talk about the sunken dugouts.
Yeah.
You talk about the fence up there and press box. They were very, very pleased with the opportunity of getting to play in a place like that.
Do you remember? You may not remember this, but how did we snatch it? It seemed like it was always at the Burns Park in Little Rock in my days, but how did we snatch that back then?
I have no idea.
That is awesome.
I'm sure they really went to work convincing people, come and see our new ball field. Come and see what we've got. Yeah. And we kept it a long time, too. Do
you remember, I don't want to put you on the spot, do you happen to remember what year that might have been, or roughly what year?
Oh, no, probably in the early 60s.
Early 60s, okay.
Yeah.
That's impressive, man. Whoever was a part of that, I don't know if they're still around or not, but, man, kudos to you guys. That's awesome to get the state Little League tournament up as far up in Northeast as you can possibly get. Yeah. I can only imagine somebody from, like you said, Magnolia, Hope, Texarkana, wherever, having to come up to play baseball. But I remember we played, I don't know why we played there, because I know Victory Lake Complex was actually built when I was younger, but for some reason, I don't know if it was our grade, but we came up playing at Lillard Field. And I do remember those sunken dug. It was just neat in that big old press box. I don't even know why. Do y'all know why they tore that down? Was there?
I don't have a clue.
Well,
I wish they would have kept it.
Once the league moved, the city needed that area, so I think they have a well out there now and maybe other things. But,
that place was like walking into Busch Stadium when you was a kid.
I'm gonna tell you, it was like our Wrigley Field here at Corning.
That was actually built by J.A. Lillard. He went around and got a lot of donations and worked on those, and Clay County Electric personnel did a lot of work out there.
You know, it's funny, you mentioned that state tournament. I found a bunch of photos from aerial views. Back in the it was mid-'60s maybe. I didn't even know they had a camera like that they could do that back then. They were pretty good shots. I'm betting, because I was sitting there thinking to myself, why were they doing that back then, you know? But I bet they were doing that because of that state. I bet that was helping promote that state tournament, I bet.
Oh, yes, and to try to maybe give us bragging rights. We've got a better ball field than anywhere in the state. And it was. It was very nice.
Fred, across the road from the Little League ballpark, did that used to be the field where they played? Because I know when I started playing Little League when I was 6, we practiced across the road and they had a backstop and everything over there. You remember that?
I remember a field being there before they put the water plant in. Yeah.
Okay.
But they never used it for...
It's just for practice?
Yeah. The city owned it.
You wouldn't happen to remember, again, some document stuff here, just for my personal use. You wouldn't happen to remember what we were using before Lillard Field, do you?
Yes, they were out here at the elementary school.
So at the elementary school.
At Park Elementary.
Yeah.
Okay, the field. We've
the
heard that
field,
before.
I remember the backstop was still there when I was playing with Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
So that was before Lillard. That's where they were playing before
Yes,
Lillard. Okay.
sure was.
Because we'd heard they played there. I just didn't know what the year time frame.
And they've actually expanded Park Elementary out into right field. The time they were playing Babe Ruth and Little League out there, the school didn't scoot out as far to the east as it does now. So it was a large field.
This is totally not sports related, but this show originally was going to be sports related. But we say, no, we're going to do stuff for the city of Corning too. So we're going to eventually get the mayor here and some different things, and the 4th of July, things like that. But I'm curious, of somebody who's been here as long as you have in this community, what was the 4th of July picnic like back in the day versus what it is now?
Oh, it was busy, very busy, and that was the time that people who moved away would come back. And it was full. If people moved to Rockford, that's where a lot of people went to work up there, and they would come back here, and people would take their lawn chairs and sit out in the shade and talk to everybody as they come by. It was a full house. But then when long distance and Facebook and things like that, why should they come back to town to see Uncle Jim, Aunt Gladys? They can do it on the phone now. So modern era has, modern communications has certainly taken a big hit on the 4th of July.
I never thought of it like that, but that's a good point.
That's what Coach Smith was saying, too. It's like a big gathering.
It was.
You would pack up and be there all day long.
Yes.
Let's get rid of Facebook.
Let's shut it down.
Shut it down.
Fred Martin's got the power, baby. You spearhead it, we'll follow you.
Yes.
Hi. Let's keep you two. We got to be able to stream our games. And this. I seen an article one time. This is from way back in the day. They actually had like hot air. I don't know if it's a hot air balloon ride for people or something. Do you remember that?
I don't remember it, but I saw that same article.
Yeah, that was at the 4th of July picnic too. So
yeah.
Maybe some creative stuff
hey,
there.
If they still had that, you could provide the hot air.
I got all the hot air you need, baby. That's why it's warm in here. We got that AC turned, got it cranked down. Hey,
I think the heat's coming off her, for truth.
Yeah,
It's kind of hot.
Yeah, just before you get off here, I'm going to just a couple of things here, a couple comments. Blake Calhoun, good luck tonight, Bobcats. Donnie Martin's watching. Dora Beecher watching. I believe they should teach children it's a game, win or lose, be a good sport, and shake hands with the winner, and congratulations them. Work harder to try to win, but never bully anyone. We agree there.
I agree with that.
Dalton Hollingsworth said, this is directed to you. He said, when's the next wiffle ball game, Mr. Martin?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know what he means.
Hey, we should do that on CSR next time they have a big wiffle ball game.
We should do that. We hear you're a wiffle ball legend in these parts. So.
Well, I don't know about that, but the house next to me on Bryant Street burned, tore down. I bought the lot, and about 25 years ago, we turned it into a wiffle ball stadium. My son's in Jonesboro, and they were replacing those those large, what do you call it, the score, where they kept the score and everything up on that. Scoreboards, yeah. So he talked to a fellow who painted it, put Martin Field on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we put it up. We don't have any electricity running to it, though. It would take too much.
Mr. Greg Arnn, if you're listening, we've got to get electricity to Martin Field, and we're going to live stream. We'll get the Pee Wee guys versus CSR. No, actually, they look pretty athletic. Let's don't do them. Let's do somebody else. We'll do like, I don't know, Harps or Sonic or somebody. We don't want these guys, but we'll figure it out. But that is awesome, though. That is really cool.
We have a good time with the family, and then we invite other people to come in and play.
Well, I just want to put you on the spot here. Then live on live audience, a global live audience. Would us CSR would we be allowed invited to play? Maybe.
Oh yes.
You tell us when, and we're in.
Probably some of the little ones would teach you something.
There we go. That's his verbal jab. I knew something was coming eventually, and it's
I'm just
okay.
coaching.
Mark got choked up on that one.
That's right. Yeah.
Miss Louise Wright says, we fought hard to keep Lillard Field. I was the president of Little League the last year we played, though. That's interesting. So I guess it wasn't one of those things where we didn't want it. I guess we did want it. I guess it was just one of those things that just didn't work out for us. But, Mr. Martin, do you have any closing comments before we get off here?
No, I just want to say thank you for your efforts, all of you, for backing the Bobcats. I think you're very positive with the approach and very enthusiastic, and it rubs off on people.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
We're just trying to make Mr. Fred Martin proud. That's what
Yeah,
we're trying to do.
that's
And
right.
anytime you want to come up here and get on a headset, you're more than welcome to.
Well,
You've
thank
done
you.
that for years, so
Thank you.
I'll boot this guy off any day to get you
All
up here. I
right.
love you, Bart. I love you. He's a legend. I'm
you boot him
sorry.
off?
Thank you.
I've been
Okay.
here longer than
Yeah,
him.
That's true. It's seniority, yeah. Guys, that
See you,
was
Mark.
Mr. Fred Martin live here at KBKG Mornings 93.5. Guys, we got to take a break. We'll be back on the other side of the break. We're going to talk to some Pee-wee football coaches, some guys that volunteer, put a lot of their time in that. So y'all stay with us. We'll be right back at these words from our sponsor.